Hi, Wildling. Hey, I'm still looking for some more interesting guests on European herbalism and foraging. So if you know anybody that would want to be a guest in my podcast series, please feel free to reach out and contact me through social media, Wild Plant Forager, or through my website, wildplantforager.com. Thank you so much. Welcome to Wild, the podcast for wildlings just like you. Wildlings who want to transform the prevalent plant blindness to collective plant wisdom. My name is Lieve Galle. I've been working as a herbalist and wild plant forager in Belgium since 2002. In those years, I've seen a lot of changes. Working with plants has become more popular, but I've also seen time is running out for our planet. As foragers and herbalists in Europe, sometimes we're dealing with different plant species and different cultural approaches towards plants. In some countries, working with plants is licensed, and in others, it's almost illegal. I believe that together we can learn from one another and be stronger. There is nothing more empowering than connecting wild souls. Together, we can have a greater impact on restoring the ancient link between people and plants. And that's why, for this podcast series, I'm talking to fellow herbalists and foragers in Europe. So if you're ready to find out what you've never been told, but what your soul already knows, welcome to Wild. Hi, Wildy. Welcome to another episode of the Wild podcast. And today I'm honored to welcome Dave Achula, a herbalist and educator in the Netherlands with Ugandan roots. He guides individuals on medicine walks, teaches the art of crafting herbal medicines, and holds sacred ceremonies, all rooted in the wisdom of ancestral traditions and informed by modern science. Dave's journey into herbalism began with a deep curiosity about the natural world, leading him to study various healing traditions, including time spent with the indigenous Khoi tribe in South Africa. His approach emphasizes not just the medicinal properties of plants, but also the relationships we cultivate with them, encouraging a connection, a reconnection with the earth and ourselves. Welcome, Dave. It's a pleasure to have you with us here. So,
you.
so tell us a little bit, how did your love for plants really get started, and how did you decide to become a herbalist?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. Really honored to be here, and very grateful for the work that you do. It's been a journey, and it actually started, as far as I can remember, as a teenager. And I remember as a teenager, I had really bad skin, like acne all over my face. And when you're a teenager, that's probably one of the worst things you can have. You're so focused on your looks and being set about others. So I had this curiosity of how can I heal this? But I wanted to do it in a natural way. So I didn't want to do I don't know what the options were out there, probably like hormonal things. But I wanted to do natural things. So through Google, I found like different types of recipes. Like I remember making facial masks from curcuma, from green tea, and applying it to my skin. And I had so much fun doing it. I even remember putting honey on my face. And I remember my siblings were like, "What the hell are you doing?" But I had so much fun doing it, and also reading about certain different plants. I was very interested in it. And at this time I was 15, I believe, very young. And then it kind of faded away. And later in my life, I was around 19, 20. So this is like 10 years ago now. I had this very strong calling, and I have to say, at a time in my life, I was quite lost. I didn't really have a purpose. I didn't know myself. I was not, um, asking the deeper questions of life. I was just doing something that was very far from what I actually really wanted to do. So on this very particular day, I had this very strong calling to smoke, to smoke Santa Maria. So Santa Maria is also known as weed, um, pot, green, many names. I refer to her as Santa Maria as I acknowledge that the plant has a spirit. And his calling was so strong. The calling was today, I have to smoke Santa Maria, and I have to smoke a lot of Santa Maria. And there was this very strong feeling of there's something waiting for me. I had no idea what it was going to be, but I didn't question it either. So I smoked, and this time I was living with my ex-partner. And I remember for the first time in my life having this very strong feeling of I need to be alone, which is very weird because I never asked for any alone time. I never asked for space. I never expressed anything like that. So I asked my girlfriend to leave the room so I could be by myself. Of course, that was very uncomfortable and she didn't understand it. But after 10 minutes, she left. And then when she left, there was a voice that came to me. And this voice told me to put on a Native American music. And without questioning why I should do it, I just went to YouTube. I typed in Native American music, clicked on the first video. I sat on my couch. I closed my eyes. I put my body into a meditation pose, crossed legs, hand mudras. Never done anything like that before. I didn't know the word meditation or anything like it, but it happened very naturally. With my eyes closed, the music started, and I remember hearing drums. And these drums put me like into a deep trance. And I remember coming into that trance, I saw the earth in front of me. And I was just spinning across the earth, making circles around the earth. And at some point in the music, they started chanting. And with the chanting, I left my body. I flew out of my body very fast and I entered space. And I remember traveling so fast that I had this tunnel vision and I was flying towards the earth. And suddenly I landed on the earth and I was standing in a rainforest. And I
Wow.
remember standing here in this rainforest and looking around me. And I remember thinking, oh, this is the Amazon. Nothing special. I wasn't scared. I wasn't afraid. Um, there were no intense emotions. It was just a very natural thing that happened. I wasn't questioning it. I just knew I was in the Amazon. From the Amazon, I flew back into space, flew back to Earth, and this time I was standing in a desert. I looked around me and I knew this is the Red Canyon in California. I just knew it. There was nothing strange about it again. And I traveled once more, and this time I flew back to space and I looked at the Earth. And it's the first time in my life that I saw the Earth as a she, as a living being, as something that has a presence. And I could feel it. And I looked at her and I started talking to her and I said, wow, you're so beautiful. And as I said that, I realized that I never acknowledged her. I never thanked her for having this human experience, for being able to walk on her and to breathe and to live. And I realized all of this and I told her like, wow, thank you that I'm able to have this experience. I was overflooded with love and emotions. And um, at that time, I had a very close heart for many, many years. And this is really an experience that really opened up my heart. I felt so much love and it was very new to me. It was very strange, but it felt very good. And I came back into my body. I went to sleep. I didn't say anything to my girlfriend. She was like, what the hell were you doing? Because she heard the music and she was not used to any of that. And the next day, I walked through this park, a park where I came every day. And I remember walking there, and I remember looking up and I saw the trees. And I looked at the trees. I was like, have trees always been this beautiful? And it was very strange. It was like it was suddenly in my face, and I felt such a strong connection. I was like, wow, what are you, how beautiful can you be? And I looked down and I saw the flowers, and I was like, my jaw just dropped. I was like, what is happening? And when I looked up, I saw the clouds, and I really had tears coming down my face for how beautiful suddenly the natural world was to me. And at this moment, I realized that my experience yesterday, it changed something inside of me. I also realized I cannot go back to the person I was yesterday. And I also realized there's so much more to this world than I can see with my two eyes. And I needed to understand this other dimension or whatever I experienced. 'Cause I didn't have any words for this. I didn't know what happened to me. And through that experience, my whole life changed. That same month, um, my diet changed. I started to become conscious what I put into my body. I lost a lot of friends. My relationship ended, and it was a very natural process of transformation and coming back to myself. And that same month, I also met a herbalist. And that herbalist, I heard him speak about plants and the natural world and how our ancestors worked with these beings, allies for many, many generations. And as I heard him speak, my jaw just dropped again. I was like, ah, of course. How could I forget this? And it's almost like I went back to my teenage years where found that love for like the natural remedies that I was experimenting with. And yeah, my heart just opened to the plant medicines. And I remember I did a 1 month detox with certain herbs, and it changed everything for me. I went from someone who was very shy and feeling stagnant, tired, to someone who became so open, socially, but also energetically. I would travel to other cities suddenly by myself and start talking to strangers, which was very strange and new for me. But through connecting with those herbs, I saw very clear in front of me my path. And I saw that my path is with the herbs, with the plants. And then I need to walk this path, that this path is my path. And that was 10 years ago. And I'm walking that path now since 10 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's like an initiation almost. That's wow.
Yeah.
Great. And I really love, I think this is the most, I ask this question to every guest I have, but I've never heard. I think this wins the prize for the most original answer as to, I started to do the herbs because I had acne. It's, yeah, it's very nice to think about, it was a blessing in disguise, the acne.
Exactly. 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 It's like your body is telling you something. And I was very curious to hear what my body was telling me. And it made me go into exploration mode. And it brought me here.
Wow. So you've studied various healing traditions, including Western herbalism, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda. How have these diverse systems changed your approach to herbalism?
Good question. So for me, it started actually with Western herbalism. And I've done some training in that also here in the Netherlands, going to school and some courses in that. Um, and it gave me a good understanding of which herbs are growing here on this European soil and what are the herbs good for. But it felt very limiting at the same time as it was a very, from my experience, a one-way approach. It was more of a this herb is good for this.
Hmm.
So if I have a cough, then you take this herb. But it didn't really go much deeper than that. So with the Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, I felt like I could understand the plants on a way deeper level. I feel like I could understand the body on a deeper level. because these traditions, they also play with elements and with energetics. So every plant has a different energetic to them. So a plant can be drying, it can be moistening, it can be relaxing, stimulating. And it gives more this framework of finding balance within the human body. So if there's, for example, excess fire, if I have a sore throat, um, that's a fire condition within the body, and I'm not going to combat fire with fire. So I could read, for example, ginger is good for the throat. I don't want to drink ginger tea when I already have a fire condition, because ginger is a herb that's also fire. It's adding more fire to the fire, and I don't want to do that. So it gave me this framework of how can I find balance within the body. So how can I use a herb to counteract the fire? So a herb that's more cooling, more moistening. And that changed a lot for me, actually, to understand the herbs on a deeper energetic level, and also the human body on a deeper energetic level. Because otherwise we're just um, having a very simple one forward way, and herbs, they require a little bit more understanding than they're good for this. And yeah, it gave me more of a holistic approach. And I think when we work with herbs, for me, I want to work in a holistic way. So going deeper to the roots instead of just treating the symptom. Yeah,
Yes, and then again, if you're just treating the symptom with this or this herb, it's pretty much clear that it's almost thinking the same as modern medicine, like where we prescribe like one pill for one ailment, and
exactly.
herbs should be more than that. It's like disrespecting the herbs if you just see them in a system where one size fits all.
Exactly. We can have the same approach with modern medicine as with herbs. And yeah, for me, when I introduce a plant to a person, I also always say, when you step into this world of herbal medicine, take it easy, take it slow. Because when you open up a book, you can have like 100 different plants. It's a lot of information for a lot of people. It's a lot of new plants, new terms. And I'm a person who wants to learn 100 plants at the same time. And um, I learned through my own experience that sometimes it's good to just focus on one plant, focus on that plant for a month. I even like to do a little dieta with a plant, meaning I sit with one plant for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and I just connect to this plant. I just read about this plant, and I just ingest only this plant, morning and evening, to really connect with
Mhm.
this plant. Because it's easy to read in books what these plants are good for, and it's a different experience to really connect with a plant, to really feel its spirit, but also to feel how the plant is moving through the body. And that requires a deeper level of listening that I really encourage people to get into. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And it's also the learning about herbs, it's a process. It's not like a moment. I see this with a lot of my students. They want to learn fast, but it has to anchor itself into like every cell of your body and of your mind. And it's a process, and you grow or your herbal knowledge, your herbal wisdom grows along with you as a human. And there is no fast way to do this. You have to take the slow road to this, and then it becomes so much more valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we have to be humble when we work with plants,
Hmm.
especially for ourselves, but also for others. Because we can fall in these pits of um, wanting to do things too fast, wanting to, for example, treat other people too fast or give advice to people too fast, when it's really not anchored within our own bodies or within ourselves, or when we don't even really have that relationship with the plant ourselves. So it's also about checking in with ourselves. When I say this, does it come out of embodiment, or is it someone I want to be, or some place I want to be? But it's a humble process. We have to be humble in the process of working with plants. I definitely believe that, especially in this day and age where we want to be something really fast and don't really want to take the time and the patience to get there and be humble in that process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, very interesting. And I think like social media has this instant gratification thing that doesn't really help in the whole process. But again, yes, taking your time and being humble is the key here. Yes,
Hmm.
totally. Yes. So, you have spent some time with the Khoi tribe in South Africa. Can you tell us a little bit about this and how it influenced your work?
Oof. Yes. So I just returned from South Africa. Um, my first time with the koi was 3 years ago now, and I just returned again. But I remember 3 years ago, I've done a lot of studying at that point, a lot of training, but it was a lot through the books. It was a lot of learning, reading. And I remember I went on a medicine walk there with this koi elder. And it was so interesting because throughout this walk, he would start singing. Just out of nowhere, he would start singing as we were walking in the mountains. And through singing, he knew in which direction to go. But he would also connect to the ancestors, to his ancestors, and to the plants. And it was so interesting to me. It without him explaining it, I knew what he was doing. And also with some of the plants, they would first come and speak to them for a whole week. They would visit the plant, speak to the plant before they would even pick anything from the plant. And I was so amazed. I was like, wow, my books, my schools, they never talked about this. How is that possible? And yeah, it kind of not drove me away, but it's created more perspective between the science side of plants and the spirit side of plants. And I connected actually more deeply with the spirit side of plants, where I was less interested in all the chemical constituents and how plants are made up from the inside. It never really made sense to me, and it was always very difficult for me to see why that was I was just not interested in it. Let's just put it like that. And I would always also think like if these plants have been used for so many thousands of years already, um, these tribes, these ancestors of ours, they were also not interested in that. They knew the plants in a different way by really connecting with them, talking to them. And yeah, that very much inspired me. I came back to the Netherlands and I actually saw a few things. I um, noticed that we tend to favor exotic plants. We tend to overlook what's growing around us. And also, we're very much science focused over here. We're very rational beings. And it inspired me to actually connect to the plants in the spirit side. And I saw the disconnect that people experience here with nature. So one of the things I hear the most is it's hard for me to connect to Dutch nature. Everything here feels planted. Everything here feels fake. And I hear this a lot from Dutch people, from foreigners as well. And it actually inspired me spending the time with the koi to connect with the Dutch nature, to connect with the plants on this soil and the trees on this soil, and also to teach others how to connect with this and to learn what is growing on our lands and to stop looking so far from what is growing so far from us. Like, let's start in our own backyards. Let's start in our own forests. Let's start in our own dunes and connect to these plants because these plants are very powerful that we have over here as well. They've also been evolving for thousands, millions of years, and they have intelligence in them as well. And I actually, through connecting, I saw how much they connected to the ancestors and how much they respected their ancestors. And it actually made me realize that, yes, I'm half Ugandan, half Dutch, but I never really had any pride in my Dutch side, in my Dutch ancestors. So I kind of always pushed away that part of me. And through connecting to the Dutch land, the Dutch plants, I started to integrate and respect and even find deeper connection to my Dutch side as well. My mom's name is Van Eyck, which means of the oak, which is a very beautiful name. It's directly connected to an oak tree. And thinking back, yeah, they really inspired me to respect both my mother's side and both my dad's side. And yeah, they've also made me, that's put me in actually into a process of going deeper into the history of Dutch herbalism, which I'm still researching. But it's very difficult to really to find what we were doing on this land, how our ancestors connected to the plants. And for example, I was last week at a friend, and her grandfather had this very famous balm that he made out of herbal medicine, but like many years ago. And people from all over the Netherlands would travel just to buy his balm. But it was a secret balm, so he would never share his recipe. And he passed away, and the recipe didn't manage to survive. It faded away together with him. So it's very difficult in this country to. You can really see that there's still a strong stigma around plant medicine, around plants, and people don't really believe in it. And also, a lot of the history has been kind of wiped away through, um, yeah, the witch hunt. And I'm slowly trying to reintroduce or bring the stories from the plants back on this land. And that's just really what the Koi taught me, is connect to your roots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And I feel you on this because um, for me, whenever I'm foraging in this land where my ancestors lived, I feel so connected to them when I eat the wild plants that grow here because I know they have been eating them as well. And that's almost as if they are looking over my shoulder to me, seeing me eating these same plants, and it's really a form of very strong connection that I feel. Um, and then again, on the other side, it's so hard to grasp it because, as you said, so much has been gone into history, like with the witch hunts, and there is so much lost somewhere. A lot of herbal knowledge. Sometimes this grief comes over me to think about what our ancestors knew and what I with even with the knowledge that I have gathered over the past 25 years, it's probably not even near the herbal knowledge my or the herbal wisdom my ancestors had. So it's very interesting to think about it and to talk about it. And yes, I agree. Plants are a great way to connect to the people that came before you.
Mm.
How do you think we could, because what I hear strongly in your story is the whole spiritual connection that you have with the landscape and with the plants, and how usually like Western herbalism, well, usually for Western herbalism, it's more like the science and everything, scientific about the plant. How do you think we could incorporate this more intuitive contact with the herbs? How do you think what would be a good approach?
I can already see it happening. I love to see how there is a move. And this is also one of the good things about social media. I see a lot of talk nowadays about connecting to the land, a lot of talk about ancestors. So a lot of information out there that's more coming from the heart and the body instead of the mind. So it's about being more connected to the intuition and to be able to let the mind go for a moment. And I believe there's great practices for that. So we see in the Western world, we have nowadays a lot of influence from the East. So we have a lot of meditation practices, which have become very popular over the years. Yoga has become a big thing, like a lot of embodiment practices where we kind of come back into the body instead of the mind. I think these things can be really great to tap into intuition. And one of my personal favorite things is to actually sit with my back against the tree, to have my eyes closed. And, feeling the bark of the tree against my back, it already feels like someone is holding me, as if there's a hand on my back supporting me. And I go into this meditation mode where if I'm struggling with something, if I feel like my mind is overactive, if there's something I want an answer to, I just sit there in silence. And I always come or have a conversation with a tree. And it can be through symbols, it can be through an aha moment, it can be going through a deep process within myself where I can find an answer. And that's really a great way for me to connect. But it really is about coming back into the body and also acknowledging, like, hey, yes, I grew up with a Western mindset, with maybe a hyper focus on being rational. It maybe starts with acknowledging that and saying, hey, I would love to be more connected to my heart space instead of my head space. I think it also starts with acknowledging that.
Yes.
And then there's plants who can like, boom, like just blow you into your heart space very quickly. Like here in the Netherlands, we work with the mushrooms, for example, and they really are a great gateway for people to come into the heart space. And usually when I have a ceremony with someone, I do one-on-one ceremonies, there is this strong connection for nature that people feel suddenly. It's like, wow, I feel like connected, like I'm part of the earth now. And this is really something that,
Which they are.
yeah. But before they would not necessarily understand it, and now they can feel it. It's when you can really embody that feeling, then it's in you, and you cannot unfuel that feeling anymore.
Yes. What I'm wondering now is how the outside world, so to call it, how other people react to the things that you're doing. So I'm sure some people come to you and they are very open to what you are doing and the approach that you have. But do you sometimes when you tell what you're doing to other people, do you sometimes get reaction like, oh, strange reactions, or people that don't understand or that are ignorant? Or
So from my 10 years experience in this field, I've come to understand how to communicate to certain people. So I change and adapt myself and my language to certain people based on their current level of openness, or based on their current level of openness towards the world, spirituality. And some people I don't tell anything. Some people I just know they're not maybe ready to hear this, or they will have a very strong judgment, or they're not interested in this. And some people I notice they're open but still a bit skeptical about it. Um, and some people are very open. They're very interested in it. They maybe don't have that experience themselves, but they have an inner feeling of, oh, there's something missing in my life. And I feel like plants, nature I need to be there. So on these medicine walks, actually, what I have the most is people who um, put that first footstep into, hey, the world is bigger than I believe it is. And I feel disconnected in my corporate job. I feel like there's more to life. Then you have the people who have burnout. They overwork their bodies for a long period of time, and they find this rest back in nature. You have those people. And coming back to your question, I would say the majority of people don't believe in the power of medicinal plants. They have a strong judgment towards it. And at the same time, nowadays, I do see a strong comeback of natural medicine within different cultures. So I also work in a herbal shop. We sell herbs over there. The majority of people that do come in are Dutch white people. For some reason, they are more open to the path of, natural remedies or herbal medicine, um, based off where I live. But I do have different cultures come into the store as well, and they would share stories of, oh yeah, back in Eritrea or back in Morocco or back in Turkey, my grandma used to give me this when I was sick. So there is this remembrance of, oh yes, when I actually open up to people about herbal medicine, there is this memory that comes up of, oh yeah, my grandma also used to say this, or my grandma used to do this. And I would say 10 years ago, if I would have these conversations with people, then I would get a different reaction. They would maybe start laughing or become very rational. But they would challenge me actually into whether I truly believe what I believe. And I
Mhm.
see that in these 10 years, there's been actually a big change in that. Yeah.
Yes, I can see that happening as well. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. And I think people are more open, and it's actually funny for me to see um in an age of AI, and like it's like we leave more of the thinking to AI and we start to feel more, however. And I think
Mm.
it's very interesting because I think in these times what we have to hold on to is being human and differentiate ourselves from AI or from machines or from computers, and think about what is the core of being a human. And yes, feeling and emotion and intuition is a very big part of it for me. So for me it's very interesting to see how the rise of AI almost seems to go together hand in hand with um, people becoming more connected to their emotions and their intuition. And I think it's very interesting to see that happening. Yeah.
It is. It is. It's beautiful that you say that because this week actually, a friend of a friend used AI to express themselves towards another person because this person was very much struggling with putting their feelings into words.
Hmm.
And I would say I see two ways. Like this can be a dangerous thing where you can become dependable on AI, but you can also similarly, like asking a psychologist that you see for help, like, hey, how could I put this into words? AI could do the same, whether it's coming from a computer or from an actual person. It can inspire you to show you how you could express yourself. And it can inspire you for the future of like, oh, I could actually express my feelings in this way. Let's try it the next time by myself. And I definitely see that the more advanced we become technologically, that there also becomes a deeper calling to go back into traditions that we used to do, connecting to the land. I see definitely that. Um, I agree with you. I see it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I also wanted to talk to you about is decolonizing the botanical world, which is like a big thing for me because it always bothered me. Like even like in today, there is a lot of more attention to decolonization. But I remember when I was studying herbalism, yeah, we were thought, oh, and this plant was discovered by this person, which is, of course, rubbish because most of the time the plant was already growing where it was growing, and the local people knew exactly what it was and how to use it and where to find it and when to harvest it. So, coming from your multicultural background, how do you look at decolonizing the botanical world or the plant world? What are things that would be constructive to do here?
It's a good question. I never actually dive into the subject of colonization within the plant world, but I do hear people talk about it a lot, especially when it comes to plants like cacao or ayahuasca, things like this. I think I just have a very simple answer, and this is how I view it. I see we have one earth, we have one mother, and whether things grow on Antarctica, South America, Australia, Africa, for me, it's about having deep respect towards a certain plant and to really connect with a plant. And I've never been interested in who discovered this plant. I've never had anything like that. So I've also never really dove into the subject of colonization within the plant world. So I don't feel like I really have an answer for that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just not busy with that. I see as plants are part of the world, they are of the world. They cannot be owned by humans. They cannot be owned by countries, as countries are also just man-made concepts. I think it's about deep respect for the earth itself. It's about respect for the people who studied these plants and who put out the information of these plants and also connected with these plants. So saying that, I do see, for example, in South Africa, a lot of the Dutch people who came to South Africa actually learned a lot of plant knowledge from um, the people over there, from the Khoi, from the Xhosa people. And I think it's about giving respect to your teachers, actually, and to acknowledge, like, hey, when we, for example, work with cacao or with ayahuasca or with whatever plants, to respect and to name where it comes from, and to also honor those people and honor the plants and honor the land that it grew up on. So that's personally what I do. I don't have strict rules for it. I never really think about it too much, but I think that honoring traditions, teachers, is a very important thing to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, you can't go wrong with respect, really.
But I'm curious to hear whether you have an answer to that.
Yeah, I don't think there is like one answer to that. I think the West has actually a lot to make up for, in my opinion. And also, let's put things in perspective. Let's not forget the plants were there a very long time before the human species even remotely started to exist. So this is a concept that sometimes people cannot grasp for some reason. They think that, and of course, people and plants have co-evolved for a long period of time. But they don't see how long we had plants before the humans came and how they provided, I mean, like they created oxygen. We would never exist without oxygen. So I think that's also something that should be really, it's also about how to, I'm thinking about how I can say this. It's also about realizing that we are here because of the plants. And yes, of course, I hear what you say, and I totally agree that it's important to honor the teachers and people that have been working with a certain plant for a very long period of time, and also to see how we can see plants as they are without their connection to the human world. And yes, I see for a lot of people that is one step too far ahead. But for me, it's very interesting to make this thought exercise of going back in time and think about how the plants were before humans and how, as humans, we shaped the landscape. And like, you know, you live in the Netherlands, I live in Belgium. We have the nitrogen problem here. And we see it throughout the landscape. You can see that the nitrogen loving wild plants, they are thriving. Um, sometimes thriving too much, almost. And then other plants are just eradicated. And I think it's very interesting to see. Like I recently went to Portugal, and um, some of my friends, they would say, "Wow, when these flowers, oh, they're so nice, they're so nice." But these were all native plants in Belgium, and I told them, these are actually not plants typical for Portugal. They're also growing in Belgium, but they have become so rare because we shaped the landscape. And, we have decided as a nation to do a lot of industrial farming, especially animal farming, and it shapes the environment and it shapes our landscape. And people don't think about this enough, I think, um, how big our imprint is on the life of plants. And it can be a very positive thing as well. It doesn't have to be negative, but just how big our input is in how the plant world is nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the Romans who came here 2,000 years ago. They brought their sage, they brought their rosemary, their thyme, their lemon balm. And 2,000 years later, it's like just part of our cuisine.
Yes,
Not
yes.
such a big thing. And
Yes.
I would say people are happy with it.
Yeah, yeah, this is also true. Plants are a great way to learn about history
Mm.
because yes, some plants are still here, some plants are, it's great to see how they are moving, how they are um the witness of certain people that had contact with one another. It's a very interesting way to think about it.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. So what do you think in today's world? So, speaking as a herbalist, living in the Netherlands and working intuitively, intuitively with, sorry,
That's a good word.
um, what challenges and what challenges do you see for herbalism in European context for like the next 10 or 20 years?
I think that will be a big rise in the interest for herbalism and for foraging. And I think with that rise, there might come more restrictions. So here in the Netherlands, we already have restrictions. So you're not even allowed by law to pick a berry, for example. But we have a Dutch word which means gedoogd, meaning they um, will keep one eye closed if you pick 250 grams of one certain plant. Um, so that's already a challenge. And I think within my own country, within here, the Netherlands, we're the most densely populated country in the world. So the parks that we have, nature that we have is already so small that we have forest rangers walking through them, checking whether we are foraging or not. Um, and we have designated paths telling us where we can walk. And there's even fences around certain natural areas, which, yeah, it just creates this distance between us and the natural world. It literally says, or it gives this idea of nature is something you go to, somewhere you go to. It's
Mhm.
something you visit when there's paths telling you where you can walk. And for me to really feel that connection, I want to go off the path, I want to go into the wild. I want to have this feeling of, yeah, I can rest. I don't want to run into other people. I just want to be with the trees, with the plants. And I kind of feel that um, the word conservation is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger with climate issues, that we try to maintain nature more and more. We try to save it as if we as humans can save nature. And by that, we come with more and more rules. And yeah, I see that how it's actually kind of restricting us from really connecting to the natural world, to the plants, for people who really want to be there in the forest or who really would love to. Um, use or work with nature as therapy, they don't really get a chance because you cannot really feel safe even in the forest or in the dunes over here off the path when you already have in the back of your mind, oh yeah, I might be fined if I'm actually sitting here. Well, you just want to have a moment for yourself. And even if you do that in a respectful way, it's quite limiting people here. It's not really encouraging. I think what we can do better is educate kids already in school to connect with the land and to have nature programs, nature days where kids garden, where kids go out in nature, where they connect with trees and they learn about the spirit side actually of trees, because it will have such a big impact where these kids will grow up and they will have way more respect for their environment. They would think twice about littering, for example, or destroying a plant or a tree. And yeah, what would be a challenge in Europe? Good question. Yeah, I think maybe more and more restrictions in terms of visiting forests and parks and nature. At least that's what I see happening over here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and yeah, it's pretty similar to the situation here in Belgium. Whereas sometimes the whole message that people get is nature is better off without us humans.
Hmm.
And I think that's in fact a dangerous message for people to receive, because they think they get this idea, oh, we're the cancer of the planet and we're destroying everything, and it doesn't have to be that way. And once they restore this connection, they get more and more insight in how it can be to actually support plants and support the whole ecosystem rather than destroying it. But I think to get these insights, you really need to connect to nature. And
Yep.
yeah, it's becoming harder and harder. And but I can see local governments here are doing their best and trying to make sure that everybody has like some kind of green area within walking distance. I mean, that's the goal, the ultimate goal. They don't always succeed. But do you think the Dutch government is doing enough in um, providing enough green space for the people?
I don't know if it's uh, if I should say whether the government is doing enough or whether it's up to people to go out. It's a difficult question, actually. I think there's always room for improvement. I think we can do better. I
Hmm.
really think we can do better. When I say that, I truly mean it. Actually, we can do way better. We can do way better. Yeah, I always had this vision of why don't we plant like fruit trees in cities so people have food to eat. Also, we have so many laws regarding you cannot, for example, in the street I live in, there's no gardens in front. It's,
Hmm.
it's just all concrete. And you could, for example, not get a tile out, put some earth there and let your flowers grow.
Yeah.
So with things like that, I would love to see more green in the cities here. I would love to see more flowers. I would love to see more grass, more green, definitely. I would love to see much more of that. And I haven't been to Singapore, but I think from certain things I've seen, Singapore is already going into a direction where they seem to blend the green with the modern city really well. And that's just from tiny pictures I've seen. So I cannot really say that from my own experience, but I definitely see room for improvement. But that's going to take time, of course. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and I can see that cities are more open to this because we now have the whole heat island discussion. So like in a heat wave, that it becomes so much hotter in cities because of all the brick buildings, and of course, a dense population. And to see that, well, they know that trees help, and open areas with green help. So yes, I can see some cities transforming in a good direction. But I think this will prove to be one of the challenges for the next decades in Europe, and especially in the cities, where cities face a lot of challenges. I think food supply is also one of them. And yes, as you said, we could have fruit trees or big wild greens in cities. It would be a great solution. Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I would love to see more green in the cities.
For someone who is new to herbalism and um, wants to learn more about herbs in more of an energetic matter, what would you recommend to be the first steps to take?
Join my medicine walk. um, what I would say is the first step, like maybe an example I used earlier is, let's say you make a ginger tea. You make this tea and before you even make the tea, like smell the herb, you work with your senses, feel the herb, and kind of see what comes through to you. How does it smell like? How does it feel like? Does it bring any memories or sensations up in me? Does it brings any feelings inside of me? And let's say you make a tea from this ginger, and you take a sip, really notice what happens in your body. How does it feel inside of your mouth? How is your body feeling after this? So if I take a sip of ginger, I can sit. I choose to take a moment for it. So sit in silence, take a sip, and I will notice that, oh, my mouth is warming up. I can feel a tingling sensation on my tongue. It's definitely a pungent taste in this. So with the word pungent, I can also feel like, okay, my body's warming up. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. I feel like my head is having a little bit of a rush. I feel a bit more energized. So just by naming out what we experience within the body, we can kind of already make a link. Like, okay, if I put this into an element of earth, water, fire, air, what element would this ginger, for example, be? With all the things I just described, I would put it in the category of fire. Fire gets things moving within the body. It gets the blood flowing. It opens the pores so we can sweat. It energizes. It moves things within us. And yeah, the first invitation is to observe within the body. Even when you eat something, when you drink something, when you have a soup, see what happens within you. And when it's to herbs, I would recommend start with one herb. Don't mix herbs together. Because when we mix, it becomes difficult to really see what the particular herb is doing. So you just connect with one herb first and see what it does for you. Learn about this herb, sit with this herb, as I said earlier. Maybe do a little dieta, maybe for 3 days, maybe for a week, maybe for a month, and really connect with this herb and see and try to categorize them into the elements that we have. So an earthy herb are usually roots that we work with. They have more of an earthy taste to them. They help to have a sense of groundedness within our body. And then water herbs are more herbs that add moisture towards the body. And yeah, really find this framework. You can even read more about it. And not to promote myself, but I do have a herbal library on my website. And you can read all about these herbs, but also the energetics of these herbs are written there. So it's written whether this herb is fire, water, earth, air, whether it's cooling, drying, moistening, and what their herbal actions are. So what they do within the body. Take it slow, take one herb at a time. Pause with each herb, sit with each herb. And it's a practice. It's a practice where you learn to listen to your body. You cannot rush this practice. Take your time for it, as learning the plants takes time. So I've been into this for 10 years, still learning. To some of the plants I connected with 10 years ago, I'm still learning new things about them. So take your time, be gentle, be curious, and always be curious, and listen. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Some very good advice there. And I agree. I still keep learning every day from the plants. Yes, it's just an ongoing journey, and it will be for the rest of my life. It never becomes boring. Some plants still surprise me after I think I've known them for such a long time. So, yes, I think this is one of the nice things about being a herbalist. That
Exactly.
yeah, it never becomes boring. Never.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've had a very beautiful lesson actually recently with the stinging nettle after working
Mhm.
with it for so many years. And it's very funny because we grew up actually with the stinging nettle. Our parents telling us, stay away from this plant. It hurts you. It's a bad plant. So I grew up with this idea of I need to stay away from the stinging nettle. And actually, when I was a teenager and when I had this whole acne thing, my brother brought me to a herbal shop, and the man working in this shop, he had a bag of dried stinging nettle, and he told me to drink it as a tea. And I was like, "What? Stinging nettle? The plant that hurts me is supposed to help me?" I was like afraid because I knew I thought this is going to sting me inside of my body if I drink this. But when you have acne and you're a teenager, you'll try anything to get rid of it. So it's funny enough, actually, because I drank it for a month, and towards the end of the month, I saw that the stinging nettle really helped to improve my acne. And so funny, actually ironic that the plant I was told to stay away from is also the plant that brought me back into the plant world. And then recently, 14 years later now, I was picking some stinging nettles with my bare hands. I filled a whole basket with it because I was going to make a soup out of it. Back home, I cut it, still not wearing any gloves, made soup. And as I went for my first bite of the soup, I realized something. Like, wow, I've done all this foraging, a whole basket of stinging nettle with my bare hands, and I was not stung, not even once. And within a second, I realized why. And I really saw that throughout these years, the stinging nettle taught me how to be present. It taught me how to slow down and to really come and really slow down when I'm foraging this plant. Because every time I would be in a rush or too fast or my mind would be drifting off somewhere else, this stinging nettle gives me a little sting, like, hey, wake up. And even in that sense, plants have so much to teach to us. Even while I've been working with this plant for so many years, this plant really taught me how to slow down in daily life, and especially when working with her. And yeah, I always say I'm always a student. I will always remain a student. The plants are the teachers, and there's always, yeah, more to learn.
Exactly. Yeah. I actually have the same experience with singing nettles. So it's nice to hear somebody else having that experience. Yes. So Dave, where can people find out more about your work and what you're doing if they're interested in your work? Where can they find more information?
You can find information on my website, which is achula.com. You spell it as Achula, or my Instagram, which is also achula. And you can find me in Den Haag, The Hague, the Netherlands. This is where I give workshops. So the workshops are based on making herbal medicine, tinctures, syrups, vinegars. The medicine works are about identifying plants, how to connect with plant spirits, going deeper into that. And yeah, the one-on-one mushroom ceremonies can also be found on my websites. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for this interesting conversation. I wish you a lot of good luck with all of your projects. Thank you so much for your time. And to our listener, thank you so much for tuning in again for this episode. See you in the next one. And in the meantime, keep powdering your nose with dandelion pollen. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
A warm thank you for listening, Wildie. Are you feeling a wild itch after this episode? Well, just head over to wildplantforager.com and feel free to connect with me on social media. I'm looking forward to the next episode. I hope you'll be there. But for now, just go outside and follow your wild heart.